So today I'm here in Fordsburg with Toni. She's going to tell us more about her amazing business called Make Good.
Thanks, Melanie. It's really lovely to be here, and thank you for including us in this project. My name is Toni Rothbart, and myself and my business partner Carlo Gibson started Make Good in 2021. And the idea behind the organization is that we're a non-profit, and we try and collaborate with creatives, makers, artisans, to be able to answer to societal needs. So to come up with social innovations that will be able to change people's lives, and simultaneously also provide work for companies in the creative sector in South Africa.
That's quite a tall order. The government can't get that, right?
Well, we're trying. So far, we've launched 2 projects.
Okay.
The first was in 2021, was our inaugural project called the Homeless Home Project.
Okay.
And that was how we started. It's essentially, I have one of them here.
Yes, I'd love to see it. I followed this project and it's incredible.
This is upcycling in a different way. So the material it's made from itself isn't upcycled, but it's something that we're trying to figure out how to do. This is made with canvas, and it is a crossbody bag that unrolls into a sleeping bag and then clips back into a jacket.
Oh, wow.
And a little bit later, I'll show you how it works. But essentially, the benefit of this is that inside the article itself, there's extra pockets that have been built in that can allow this, it's only 2 kilograms, and that can allow people who sleep on the streets, or guys that are collecting our recycled trash, to be able to use it both for insulation and for comfort. So it's lightweight as it stands, but the pockets inside can be stuffed to be able to fit in newspaper or plastic or cloth, and it will be able to give extra insulation and then comfort for when they sleep.
Oh, how
and then
clever.
The stuff itself can then be taken out and thrown out or recycled, and then they can roll it up again, easy to carry for the next night.
Okay, so they can actually put things like plastic and newspaper and things into the pockets to make it even warmer. Wow.
And for comfort, so there's there's also that.
Yes.
So it's waterproof and windproof, and it obviously rolls out into the sleeping bag and then also clips back.
So this was Carlo's brainchild.
Okay. He came up with the idea while he was cycling, and he was wearing a jacket, and he was like, how does he get the jacket to now not be as cumbersome as it is while he's cycling? And he was like, if I had something to sort of stuff into it, then I could take those cloths or papers out and throw them away, and then I could have a lighter weight jacket. And then it evolved into this homeless home project.
What a great idea. So you say it's a project. Is it ongoing? How does it work?
It's ongoing. So we started it in 2021, and we started it just with, we just put about 100 units out into Johannesburg, onto the streets, and then started crowdfunding to be able to see how much more we could.
Who paid for those first 100?
We paid for them at first, and then eventually the crowdfunding kind of came in, and we got 600 units out into the streets of South Africa in that first year. It was really rewarding, and I mean, it wasn't just Carlo coming up with the idea. We went into the communities that are kind of sleeping rough and trying to figure out what it is that they needed and how we could do something to make it more comfortable or more usable or lighter weight for them. So the process of design thinking is very much in our ethos, how we come up with an idea, but then we have no idea what it's like to be homeless. So to then create something that would be usable and functional for the person, for the end user, by consulting them.
And are they in use?
Yeah, so they are in use, and we're in the process of a second phase in which we have now collaborated with an organization based in Protea Glen in Soweto. And it's a non-profit organization who deals with gender-based violence and women who have been victims of gender-based violence, and we're trying to get them upskilled, to train them to sew so that they can manufacture going forward. So it's
so the social impact is now being
expanded. I think we struggled quite a bit with the social impact of what it was. Initially, we understood that it was shelter or a home that we were giving to people that were on the street, but that was where the story ended.
Yes.
And so now to incorporate this other journey into it, or this other trajectory, to be able to get these women both financially independent, as well as getting access to psychosocial support and being able to learn a skill. So they'll be our manufacturers as we're training them to be able to get this going and to be able to go forward and create their own small businesses.
So in a way, it's such an elegant and simple model. Why are more people not doing things this way?
I think we all have ideas. You know, we sit around at dining room tables and chat. Carlo and I, when we first met, just before we launched this, the conversation that we had was we just needed to jump in and make it happen.
Yes.
You look at how it's maybe financially going to set you back, but you don't know until you know. And it wasn't really that big a deal to set up a company and set up a website and do the first 100 jackets and go out and have very, very meaningful conversations with people who were in need and be able to come up with a solution that was so much more rewarding than the couple of $1,000 that we put into it at first. And then it just grew. And as we understood the need and people were responding to it. So I think a lot of people don't do it because I think financially there's like maybe a stop. And then also thinking you can't actually make a difference.
Yes.
And in a very short time, we got 6. So it actually was from June, we distributed our first ones, and then we got our last order in September of that year. So there were 600 jackets in that space of time. And yeah, we got recognized by Twig for, sort of the social innovation of it. And we've received seed funding from the SAB Foundation.
Okay.
So if we wouldn't have just gone, let's do it, then we would still be sitting having a conversation about how amazing this thing is. And I do know that Carlo had this thought in his head for probably 20 years. Okay. And that, 2021 was the time. Yes. It was the right time.
Yes, yes. So for those of you watching, I met Carlo, I think, it must have been somewhere around 2004, 2005. When he was still with Jermac and they were still doing Strangelove. And I think I fell in love with his mind back then already, because he has a way of viewing the world that is very singular.
Yeah.
And I'm so pleased that I still know him all these years later and I'm still able to connect with his work in this amazing way, because I've always admired the way he tackles, just the angle that he comes at design from.
Yeah. And also to understand that he has these inherent skills and this unbelievable gift that he's worked very hard at, but it does come from somewhere else within him, but that he wants to do it to make good, to do better things, and he, from the beginning of COVID, certainly, which is when I met him, it's been very much about trying to figure out for both of us how to use what our privileges and our capabilities and our ability to do things in order to just change that up and create something new that changes people's lives.
I love that you've gone on such a brave journey.
I know. But it's been so amazing. It's been a great journey.
Okay.
It really has.
Why do you think you do it?
So for me, I worked in the live events industry for over 10 years, and I found it very wasteful. It was always the thing for me that I struggled the most with. We would build these amazing sets and bash them down the next night, or that night. We would, make gift bags and give away jackets and pens and books, and all of it ended up in the bin or in, landfills. And certainly the amount of branding that you would go through in an event, just reams and reams of this fabric that was printed, just to put out a message that may look good in a photo. And it has the longevity for that, but honestly, that night, everything comes down.
Yes.
Everything gets struck and the stuff ends up being thrown away. And it from the very beginning was really a difficult swallow for me. So I think it took me a little bit of time to sort of figure out how to do anything with it. And then by 2020, 2021, I had started thinking about how to do things that were now in a different world, right? Yes. So to do things with what it is that I knew how to do, and certainly live events weren't around anymore, to do things with what I knew how to do and the things that always bothered me about the things that I did. So just to change it up.
I love that you went to what bothered you.
What's the thing that you want to fix,
yes.
right? I mean, we can...
So some people would kind of hide from that.
I mean, you know, there's stuff, but no, yeah, it was just the thing that just sat there. Like, you can't, in good conscience, keep making these incredible experiences for people, and then they walk away and you're left with a field that's just strewn with garbage. And sure, the night was incredible, the build up to it was incredible, the experience for everybody that was there, that was incredible, but then everything just gets turfed.
Yes, yes. Was it incredible for the environment, for the natural environment that it affected?
No, exactly, it wasn't. So, you know, I guess in the last 10 years, there's definitely been a move towards greening events and doing things like, there's some amazing projects out there that recycle water bottles and put them in building, to make building materials. So, you know, you get those kind of companies in rather than just millions of water bottles. There's a lot of venues that have recycling programs that make sure that the stuff that you're utilizing there gets to the places that it needs to go. But there's another supply chain there that gets lost in the way, and that kind of brings us to our second project.
Okay, so tell us about your second project.
I'll tell you about the second project. So we were given, based on this project that we were doing from one of the companies that I used to work with, this branding material that they had used on a huge launch.
Okay. So this is a billboard.
So it's a billboard that was used in a stadium. Okay. I think it was 20 meters across by 10 meters high. It was massive.
That's a lot of billboard.
Yeah, that's a lot of billboard. And it just sat, and it was going to end up in a landfill.
Okay.
And they called us up and said, can you do anything with this? And so we tasked ourselves to try to figure out how. Okay. And Carlo took the material to the factory and made a whole lot of different ideas, and one of them was this, which is it's like a tractor tire sized planter.
Oh, okay. So it's a planter.
So it's a planter, yeah.
Yes.
And essentially you fill it up with soil and you can plant things inside it, and it's water wise and it sits above ground.
Yes.
And part of Make Good's ethos is about collaborating with different organizations, and we're collaborating now with Food and Trees for Africa. Okay. And their whole profile is about nutrition and food security, greening spaces. And so we had a chat with them to find out if there was a way they could use these, and they're going to distribute them through their pre-existing garden learning program in creches and schools, different areas around South Africa.
Wonderful.
And yeah, and it's so great. And because it sits above ground, the kids from the creches can still run around and play and not damage the crops. But at the same time, they can learn all about planting and germination, and food security can come, you know, sort of standard. This permaculture program is just phenomenal. And it's so great to be a part of that. Yes. So something that we've made answers to a need of something that's so completely different to what it is that we do.
That's incredible. So how long does a bag like this last?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
You haven't tested that yet?
We haven't tested that yet.
Okay.
I don't think these things degrade.
No, I don't think this will ever die.
I don't think this will ever die.
How do you even sew this?
I think this will... I don't sew it. So I think very special machinery. And that's part of the problem. Something like this doesn't die. I don't even think you can burn it. It's plastic, right? Yes. And hundreds and hundreds of meters of the stuff is created all the time. And I know there's amazing projects out there that are doing things with billboards. But I think specifically in the event space, this is something that has kind of been overlooked. So yeah, so that's what we're trying to challenge.
I think it's wonderful that you're working with these resources that you have access to, and also that you're modeling for others what it could look like to think twice. So what would you say to companies out there who are making big billboards like this? Because really, you know, if we want to reduce waste, that's
So the billboards are probably not going away, right?
Yes.
I think that maybe we've got a while to go before we find a fabric that can biodegrade. But if they are making this, then they need to find a part of their, you know, sort of sustainability program, to find charities, or, you know, to find non-profits that are doing these kind of things, or even for-profits that are doing these kind of things, that are recycling them into something that gives them a second life. Because, I mean, certainly for this was up for a week. and then pull down, then at least it can have an actual life.
Yes.
The beautiful thing with Food and Trees for Africa is they can provide carbon offset credits for donations that are made to projects like this.
Okay.
So if companies are doing billboard stuff, they can get in touch with us and we can get these made up and it can work towards their sustainability programs.
Amazing. And for those of you who are watching, I'm going to put your details into the description of this video. So Toni, where to from here? Are there more projects like these in development, or is it all about now getting people to buy into these?
At the moment, we're
ideas?
Focusing on this, and
Okay.
obviously on the sort of upskilling and training of the next phase of the Homeless Home project. Oh, so this is called the Curious Sprout Planter.
The Curious Sprout Planter.
Curious Sprout
I
Planter.
love it. Curious Sprout. How did you come up with that
Carlo
name?
came up with the name.
Okay.
Yes.
Love it.
He was the namesmith.
Okay.
And yeah, we've got a couple of other things in the pipeline. We're always looking to collaborate with other makers and designers, or if people have social issues that they kind of want to bring to us to try and find solutions, that a maker or an artisan who has that solutionist style thinking can try and come up with a solution that is functional and workable. Because you know what makers are like. They're solutionists.
Yes.
They're people who come up with the best way in order for it to be functional and to do things. Beauty as well, but also it has to have a workability.
Yes.
So we're always looking for collaborations. So if anybody has an idea, to come to us with it. We've got a couple of other little things in the pipeline. We were chatting with industrial designer and trying to do a project, something very separate for some orphanages, to try and help kids to improve their core muscles while they're still developing, because there's so many kids and they don't really have that one-on-one time.
Yes.
But that's very much in its infancy and we're still trying to figure out how to make it happen.
Okay.
Working with little people is a little scarier because you don't want to make something that they might hurt themselves on.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, so that's the other project that's in the pipeline, and then we're always looking for new ideas.
So what's it like to be a social entrepreneur?
It's a very different world. So we've been exposed to so many amazing people.
Yes.
People that you don't even realize are doing such great things. And I think that for me was like the first big lesson that I had, is suddenly chatting to people who were doing similar kind of stuff to us, or other social entrepreneurship organizations, and they're just doing things that are so beautiful, and they see the world in such a positive way, and know that there's, even with all the things that we're facing, how difficult things can be, there's always a solution, and there's always positivity, and there's always a way to make it happen. And like a true belief in changing people's lives. It's a very beautiful thing. And it takes you out of yourself. It's very easy to sit there in the dark, in the cold, going like, but then you meet some guy on the street who you hand out a homeless home to, and you change his world for however long that lasts for. You're able to find a way to contribute to helping children learn about growing crops, whether just for sustainable farming or to become involved in agriculture somehow.
Yes.
And there's a bigger picture, and I guess that's sort of where it's at. And it definitely speaks to my heart, and I know it definitely speaks to Carlo's.
Thank you so much.
Melanie, thank you very much. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to chat about these things.
Yes.
and our projects and our passions. And
I'm so excited to share this story with the world. Thank you for being a voice.